Yeah. I'm at Grace Church Road. I went to Waynesboro to bring this man down to this address. And now he's trying to force his way into a house. I'm afraid to move my vehicle. Just fighting in there.
It's inside the house now?
Yeah.
You have your doors locked?
It's open. I'm in a van.
You need to make yourself safe, okay? Even if you've got to drive away from there to get away from him and close that and lock that door. Do that for me now, please.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay, sorry. All of a sudden I seen another bot, not a bot, but like a night bot type of thing come in. So I had to quickly block that one. Anyways, it's nice to see Streamlabs working again. So anyways, I know there's not very many people in here, and that's fine. It's not something that we typically do, but I seen it. Did you guys see this as well? The about the school shooting on Friday of that teacher. Let me just go to this one here. Yeah, like, hey, Sloop. Hey, Sharon. Sloop, there she is. Yeah. You want to come on here with me, Sloop, just to sit beside me and talk with me, too? If so, I'll drop the link. It's nice to see you on there, but seen it, haven't read it yet. Yes, it's so awful. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to come sit up here with me. I'm just kind of learning of it, too. I was listening to, like, the press conference of it for this teacher. The teacher was like, well, hold on, let's just go to it. I think she was like 25, was she? I think it was. Let's say it was 25. Yeah, Abby Zwerner, 25, is now trending in a positive direction. And the gentleman or the LE officer that was like given the interview was talking about it and saying, like she's, he was allowed to say certain things at the press conference because she said it was okay. No, she didn't. Thank God. You know what? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Come on, Sloop. There you go. There's the link for you there. I'll drop it. And then, as doing that, then I'll, let's see, go to, is it this guy here? 6-year-old. Stop screen. Share. This one here. And I left that guy's face in a good-looking position, didn't I? How hot is that? Or Streamlabs is going off. Anyways, it's nice to see that it's actually working again. Finally, actually, I was sitting there preparing Nightbot um, just in case. Well, I do need to fix this one still because got Christmas stuff going all through it and stuff. Just got blocked by armchair detective. Just spent saying hello and then censoring them. I asked if the professor will write the BCK book. They freaked out on me. BCK book. Oh, really? Little sensitive over in the armchair detective channel, are they? I don't know. I don't watch it. I've heard of it. Your My debit card the other day got froze trying to give you guys money. How did that happen? Not sure how that ever happens. That's something I've never heard of. So unless unless of course is there suspicious activity that your card is deemed as having? Hi Wanda, how are you? Did you see the 12-year-old? Um, there she is. Hey Sloops.
Hey, Sonny, how are you?
Good, good, good. It's nice to see you right there in chat
You
there.
too. I have the strangest hours in the wintertime, and it can't be helped. I was so happy I caught you on a live. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
there's only 7 of us here, but that's okay. I caught a live.
yeah, you know what? I was just like, I was listening to it and I was like, what, I mean, I thought I would do a live, honestly, because this is something that's very unprecedented, and I was listening to the press conference, and obviously this child got the gun from the home, which was a registered gun, but how the heck do you leave out a loaded gun? This child puts it in his knapsack and takes it to school, shoots his teacher in the hand, which went through the chest as well. So, however, it happened exactly. But but like the chief guy said or whatever of the elite, it's unprecedented. It's not like they have to deal with this stuff. Um,
Right.
Crazy, but it's so great to have you sitting with me. Yeah, it's been.
Oh, if I wasn't in such a state, I'd even go on camera, but not today. Not
No, that's
today.
all good. That's all
uh,
good. I'm just
I
glad. Go
I
ahead.
tell you, I don't know what's going on in this world that on the daily, I am shocked by something, this being one of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I've always been a true crime follower, but when it involves children, it it is so different to me. And
Yes.
this, I see on the local news in Indianapolis where children have shot each other because people are leaving their firearms out, things of that nature. But someone of this age to purposefully get a firearm, take it to the school, and shoot
Yeah.
a teacher. Not,
Yeah. I
I
know. Like, I mean, obviously, someone that's 6 years old, like this is the thing to me about this probably, and I'm just going to speak off of thinking about my own son when he was that age, is that, they get to watching these cartoons or playing these
Mhm.
games and see shooting and see stuff like that. And it's almost like a 6 year old. Yeah, they know it's a gun, but they have no real thought process of the
No.
repercussions of what they are doing. And I just it's crazy because they watch these things on TV and see these things. It doesn't matter, they do watch them, you know
Right.
and then
Right.
they, so it's like, oh, gun, yeah, put it in my thing. And you know what I mean? It's like a 6 year old does not have the comprehension to
No, not at
understand
all.
the
I have
repercussions of what
a
he did.
right. I have a 6-year-old grandson that
Hey,
I
pretty.
spend the majority of my time with. He is my person and I am his. And I can tell you for fact, he would not understand the reality of that
Yeah.
gun versus what's on simple cartoons anymore. And the
Yes.
repercussions of that. He doesn't understand even death. He's
Yeah.
6 years old. You
Yeah.
know, uh, I, I, I just This one's on the parents. Sorry.
Absolute. Oh, 1,000 billion% on the parents.
Mhm.
I remember, I always will remember this because it's always stuck in my head. I remember when I was in Alberta, I flew out for Christmas. I was at my brother's house, and Corey was about 4 years old at the time or something like that. And his dad took him off to the side, and Corey, his son, my nephew, started kicking his dad. And then his dad's like, Corey, knock it off, knock it off. And Corey, and then my brother was like saying, Corey, it's Ninja Turtles. It's not real. And he started kicking him. He's like, no, it is real. Don't tell me it's not real. It's real. And he kept
Yeah.
kicking. And it's just like you're watching this child think that Ninja Turtles is real,
Mhm.
and is because and that it's a okay behavior to start kicking because they do it on Ninja Turtles.
Right.
But so it's like I said, this child, 6 years old, would see gun shooting on TV and whatever, and we all know that life was way different, than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever.
Right.
Even my son too. I didn't even realize that Teletoons was this adult cartoon. I just thought it was cartoons. Mom, I'm gonna go watch Teletoons. Okay, and then I hear, I'm so happy my ass is smiling. And I'm like, but I didn't know it was from
What?
Teletoons.
Right.
So I thought
Right.
I thought he'd heard it on somewhere, obviously. But I remember laughing so hard. And then one day I was doing dishes downstairs and he was watching Teletoons, and all of a sudden I'm like literally doing dishes and I'm like, wait, what? I'm so happy whoops, my face just went blurry. I'm so happy my ass is hold on, my stupid camera. My ass is smiling, and I'm like, whoa, is that where you got that from?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
didn't realize that Teletoons was such an adult based thing at the time, and then that's when I realized it. I didn't know
Well,
that they made cartoons like that.
I'll tell you though, it's funny. I've thought about this because I have a lot of time to lay in bed and think. And our cartoons growing up, I'm older than you, but not a lot. And our cartoons were pretty violent. Good old Looney Tunes and all that,
Yeah,
people beating each other up. There
yeah,
was guns involved, but we did not act out on those things.
correct. Hey,
It didn't happen.
now, well, let me play this is on this person's one that I happen to be watching, but let me go to the press conference where the officer is talking about it, and so that everyone kind of can get on the same page of this whole story that happened on Friday. Okay, Sloop. So
Perfect.
I'll play this and then we'll be back in a minute.
Okay, great.
After that, we're going to take some questions. Prefer that you kind of hold your questions until after all three have spoken. Okay? So Chief Steve Drew.
Well, good evening. Thank you all for joining us today. And I know there was some question about as we go forward and share some information today. I know there was some question about when we would deliver some remarks and comments. I think that's important to our community, right? But we wanted to make sure that we took some time and gathered some information. We had some good information to deliver and clear some things up. So my name is Steve Drew. I'm the Chief of Police here in Newport News, and I will tell you that this is an unprecedented situation that we're dealing with. A 6-year-old. It is unprecedented. So there are some nuances here. Last Friday was a hard day for our city, for all of us, and there were a lot of heroes. I'll tell you that Saturday afternoon, I was able to meet with family, and I was humbled, but I was able to meet with Abigail Zwerner. Abigail is a 25-year-old teacher, and she is a trooper. She is a hero. I talked with her, so before I talk today, I'm going to go through the timeline, establish that a little bit for you, talk about our officer response, what happened while we were there, and where we're at in our investigation. But please remember that we are only 3 days into this, that there's a lot of things that still need to happen. And I'll talk about that as we go forward. But there are some questions that will be we will not be able to answer because of where we're at with this investigation. When I met with Abigail's family on Saturday, and they took me up to her room, she asked me, first question, do you know how my students are? She was worried about them. And then today, when I went back to share with her that we were going to hold this press conference today, she again asked me, do you know how my students are? And that touched me, her family and her mother. Abigail wanted me to tell you all, but primarily her students and her parents of her students, that she is in stable condition and that she is thankful for the thoughts and prayers that have gone out to her, to people that have reached out, not only here locally, across our state and across our nation. She is very, very appreciative of the support that she's getting and continues to get. So I just want to establish with you a brief timeline. Last Friday at Rich Neck Elementary School on January the 6th, at 1:59, a call came in and advised that a teacher had been shot, and there was no other information that came forward. Officers were dispatched at 2:00 p.m. And personnel to Rich Neck Elementary. And anytime we have a situation where there is a shooter or the believed a possible active shooter, officers are going to come from all over. So there were officers from different areas there. At 2:04, two sheriff deputies arrived at the school and entered the classroom where this shooting took place. And we'll talk a little bit shortly here. There was not an active shooter going on throughout the school. Everything happened in one classroom. Two sheriff deputies entered at 2:04, and about 8 to 10 seconds behind them, two officers entered. When they entered the room, they found a 6-year-old child that was being physically restrained by a school employee. The child became a little combative, actually struck the school employee that was restraining him, and officers then took control of him and escorted him out of the building, placed him in a police car with an officer inside and outside that vehicle. Once that had occurred, there was a systematic evacuation of rooms and hallways for safety. So we still weren't sure exactly what all we had at that point. On the timeline, I want to go back and talk about the other response. As we said, at 2:04, deputies and officers responded. At 2:06, medics arrived at the school. At 2:07, the medics were cleared by officers to enter the building, that room was safe where we had someone had been injured. At 2:09, they made contact with Abigail. And at 2:11, she was transported to a local hospital where she's currently undergoing treatment. And again, if I didn't state earlier, she is still listed in stable condition, and I had a good conversation with her today. We talked a little bit about when the officers arrived. The young man was taken into custody and escorted out of the building, and officers responded then and began to put a plan together quickly to evacuate the hallways, the classrooms in a systematic order. But remember, we're dealing with elementary kids, right? And I will tell you, I was touched by the way that those officers interacted with those kids as they moved them from the hallway to the gymnasium. The faculty and staff there, and I'm not just talking about teachers. It was heroic, the way I saw them take care of those young people. Officers and faculty members took the students into the gymnasium. That's where they would stay until they were reunited with their family. The individuals that were in the classroom were taken to the library, where they were held there, kept there with detectives, a couple of teachers, and eventually some school counselors. When they arrived, we escorted them safely to that area as we continued to clear the building so that they could be, the professionals could be with our young people, with students. We talked about detectives and counselors that were escorted there to make sure that we had professionals with the individuals that had been in that room. Once the building was safe, forensics entered the classroom and processed the crime scene. I want to share with you what we recovered there. One spent shell casing, a backpack, a cell phone, and a 9mm Taurus firearm was recovered. The firearm was recovered close to the student's desk where the shooting occurred. Mrs. Zwerner was providing class instruction. The 6-year-old child displayed a firearm, pointed it at her, and fired one round. There was no physical struggle or fight. She was providing instruction to her class. There was one round fired. Abigail took a defensive position And what I'm sharing with you is because she has allowed me to share it. She took a defensive position where she raised her hand. The round went through her hand, exited the rear of her hand, and into her upper chest. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. I'm not a physician and the complications there, but that was the injury. She leaned back and took that round. She suffered a gunshot wound, but she was still able to get all of her students out of that classroom. From the video surveillance we have of the hallway, you can see the students running out of that classroom across the hall into, and I'm estimating about 17 to 20 students out of that classroom across all into other classrooms. Mrs. Zwerner was the last person to leave that class. She made a right turn and started down the hallway, and then she stopped. And she turned around. She turned around to make sure that every one of those students was safe. She made her way down to the administration office, where we later find out that she was given first aid as dispatchers talked to individuals who had made phone calls, and they took care of her through communications until the paramedics got with her. Several faculty members were interviewed at the scene. Others, there will be follow-up interviews. There will be follow-up interviews with Abigail. The students that were there, we will work with child psychologists who are trained to interview children. We'll work with them and want to talk about what they saw in their accounts. Now, once I arrived, myself and other officers, I got a quick brief assessment of the situation, what we had, and I wanted to get out as quick as we could to our community and our parents, right, that we did not have an active situation, the individual was in custody, and that there was no longer threat. I tried to explain a little bit about how children were being moved to the gymnasium. We'll work with our school board members and faculty and staff there, our sheriff deputies that came all together, and we had a systematic process of releasing a child to their parent. They were identified and we got them back together. You can imagine there was some frustration by parents wanting their children back, and I can understand that. Myself and the mayor worked the line as parents lined up, calming them down, reassuring that their students were okay. But you saw tears and frustration, anxiety, and I appreciate that, sir. Because in those situations, what we ought to do is try to keep people calm because they're just unsure of what they had. And as we reunited, as I saw school employees walking students and officers walking students back to their families, I saw tears and smiles on both sides. Almost in that moment of seeing our fire department, sheriff's department, police officers, school board members, school officials working together to reunite those children and loved ones, and the care that they took for those young people, it was amazing. Laughing, supporting, holding their hands, talking to them. I saw children in the gym that were making fun of officers and officers making fun of them, just bonding and trying to make that situation that we're dealing with the best that we could. They remembered how important those young people are in that time of, they may never forget. The parents of the 6-year-old child were contacted by the police department and asked them to meet us back at police headquarters. They did so, and at that point is where we interviewed the child and his mother. And we determined that the firearm was in the residence where they lived, and the child had obtained that firearm, placed it in his backpack, and brought it to school. He was brought to school that day by his mother later that morning. The 6-year-old child brought to school, like we said there, and it was determined we wanted to know about that firearm. It's one of the things that we did in our press conference. There was one of the questions I had. Where did that firearm come from? The firearm was legally purchased by the child's mother out of York County. Detectives. So after we had this information, like I said, this is unprecedented. We're dealing with a 6-year-old. Detectives talk with Human Services and Child Protective Services, our Commonwealth Attorney's Office. I've talked to Mr. Gwynn several times, as late as last night and this afternoon. The Community Service Board, which addresses mental and behavioral health. Due to the age of the child, we made these conversations, these contacts and conversations to seek guidance on possible services, because none of us have a lot of information dealing with something like this. Based on this conversation, an emergency custody order was initiated by detectives, and the 6-year-old child was transported to a local hospital where he was evaluated. The CSB, Community Service Board, determined that a temporary detention order would be obtained from a magistrate, and the child is currently receiving treatment at a medical facility. Now, the department will continue to conduct this investigation, which will consist of a lot of follow-up interviews. We want to talk to the individuals that were in that classroom with help of a child psychologist. We want to meet with human services or child protective services to see if there's any interaction or any cases that they have with the family or the child. And we also want to work with Dr. Parker and his staff, which have been extremely forthcoming with information of any issues they may have dealing with the child's behavior or any behavioral issues or concerns. I'd like to reiterate, and I said that night, I just want to reiterate that this shooting was not accidental. It was intentional. Now, I believe, and I told her today, I believe that Miss Zwerner, Abigail, that she saved lives on Friday. I cannot be more impressed with the faculty and staff of the school. I can't be more impressed with those children. The way they exited the hallways and went with instruction, the officers and deputies who talked to them, some holding their hands as they walked through. And the number of school employees that came in and we escorted to the gymnasium and even to the library to work with those young children. And I also want to thank all of our federal partners, state and local officials who called and asked if there's any support that you need from the governor's office, all over the state, but primarily around our surrounding jurisdictions. Is there anything you need? And I believe that's because of the relationship that we have. So as we go forward, those are the conversations we'll be having as we continue to put this investigation together. There are a lot of things that we need to continue to do. We're only 3 days into this investigation. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit about our response, what we had, a little bit of the timeline, what was recovered, and what we have done at this point, and where we are as we go forward to have those conversations with our Commonwealth Attorney and the CSB board on the best avenue to go forward in this situation. I'll take some questions at the end. At the end, I want to make sure that Dr. Parker and our mayor speak. But I before I step away, I just want to say that I am appreciative and thankful of the partnership and the relationship we have. And I want to thank you for your being there and just kind of all of us working together. I think that's what makes this city great. Horrible situation happened that we were able to come together. So I just wanted to say thank you.
And good afternoon. I will start my remarks by thanking quite a few organizations. I know our police department, sheriff's deputies, our city council members, and our school board, and that great staff at Rich Neck Elementary for their response and continued support of our students and our community moving forward from this event. When I arrived at Rich Neck Elementary School on Friday, I was coming from the southern portion of the city, and it took almost 30 minutes to get there. And by that time, a lot of operations were already in place. Our sheriff's office and with supporters, police had already sectioned off the area, and parents at that time, while very concerned, were cooperative. I'd like to thank the Rich Neck parents. They were very cooperative. They allowed us to put operations in place. They allowed Chief Drew and team to continue to search the building, and they allowed us to put a reunification plan in place in a very fairly short time, which allowed us to identify parents or guardians and make sure that they were reunified with their students. It took approximately 3 hours to complete that reunification process, which I thought, under the circumstances that we were dealing with, was very well done. So I'd like to thank all involved there. My remarks, we are very pleased to hear that our teacher, Abby, is improving. I look forward to seeing her soon. And we are continuing to support the staff of Rich Neck Elementary and the students. As of this day, All students who were in the classroom in that incident we've been offering mental health supports. We've reached out to those families. We've continued to reach out to the Rich Neck Elementary staff to offer any mental health support as needed. And we have created a helpline that allows any parents or any community members who need support to contact that helpline, even if it's just a matter of talking to their child about what occurred. We also continue to offer that support to all of our staff in Newport News, teachers, families, and the community, because an incident like this does not traumatize one community; it traumatizes the entire city. And we're at a point in public education today where we have to continue to do our best to not only attract and retain the best teachers and the best staff that can serve our community, but also ensure that we have a safe learning environment for students to continue to grow and learn. And in many instances, we've had challenges here in Newport News, and we're not unlike many cities across the nation who have struggled with the impact of gun violence. However, we have to be very proactive moving forward. And to that, I say that our first approach this week has been to continue to follow up with the chief in his ongoing active investigation, but to conduct our compliance investigation as well. Whenever we have a serious incident of this nature, we want to unpack what transpired leading up to that incident. And so we can learn from it, not only from a procedural standpoint, but also from a safety standpoint. And we're in that process of doing that first. This is day 3, as Chief mentioned, and day 1 of our compliance investigation. And we will continue to meet with staff, collect statements, and also assess what transpired on Friday. Our next concern is the mental well-being of our faculty, our staff, not only the staff of Rich Neck Elementary, but our entire division. I've received many emails, some supportive, some concerned, some afraid, and it's understandable. Some angry, and I'm angry, but I know that we have to find a pathway to move forward. And I know that means that while we may be angry or in fear and don't understand all the details of what transpired, we'll get to that point where we can answer all of the questions, where we can clearly communicate what moving forward will look like. And I'd like to also thank those educators, principals, and students who are attending school today. I know it took great steps for some of them to wake up and go into a school building today. And that's the type of educators we have in Newport News. We're committed to our mission. We want to make sure that our students have a place to learn, and we want to continue to work on those areas of safety and other areas that we are going to focus on. So we have canceled classes at Rich Neck Elementary for the entire week, and we're going to use that week productively. We had a very good meeting with the staff today, virtual, and I offered some questions that we want them to answer for us around school safety, what they would like to see take place in order for them to return to the school. What are some of the expectations for us in terms of supporting Rich Neck Elementary and their community? Once we gather that information from the staff, we will start building out a plan for.
Hey, Tony, how are you? Can't hear you. Here, you got your mic muted. There you go.
Hello, America. Hello, America.
How are you?
Hello.
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on. Oh, Aspen's here. I better not play up.
So how are you? Nice to have you on. I had to make sure. Thank goodness you turned on your camera so I could at least see that there was a face, because on internet you never know if you're going to get de-rolled sometimes.
Yep.
So what's your thoughts going on with this case?
The 6-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, horrendous. Yeah, I just hope it's not a copycat thing. Kids can be fairly easily influenced.
On there. Well, first of all, I shouldn't be so rude here. Tell everybody who you are, where you live, or whatever. Like, I hear you have an accent, obviously. Where's the accent from?
I live in New Zealand.
Okay, is that a New Zealand
Um,
accent?
my ancestry is Greek. The property here in New Zealand, the property in Greece. Kept me back for 20 years though. So yeah, I'm just I work on a wharf. I drive a crane and a forklift. Pretty basic sort of guy. Just got into true crime with the Gabby thing. I wasn't going to follow this, but it sucked me in, and now I'm pretty much obsessed with it.
With true crime in general?
Oh, sorry, I sidetracked you with the Idaho thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the Idaho. Yeah, yeah. Very sad case, and I mean, there's tons of sad cases, and I didn't intend on being in true crime either, but you do get sucked in because it's like every time you turn around, it's like, oh, really? Another one? And it's just crazy,
Every
but
day.
you know,
Yeah, I mean, some of the stats I see out of America. Apparently, it's 500,000 people go missing a year there. Where do they go?
Yeah.
yeah,
Just in the U.S. alone, it's 650,000 people.
I mean,
Which most of which are explained pretty quickly. But yeah, I think the
Okay.
average is
Yeah.
650,000 a year.
mhm.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the fact that they're saying that it's? I haven't listened to too much about this case. It just came upon, and I listened to the press conference.
So, Yep.
Thought I'd do a live on it because obviously we're talking about a 6-year-old, and then they're saying it's intentional. That it wasn't intentional, and Deb saying that supposedly this kid brought bullets to school last week. It happened on Friday, Amanda, and so yeah, like first of all, what do you think about the fact that this child even had access to a bullet and gun?
we had our guns taken away by the government about 2 years ago here. We've very strict gun laws. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a gun locked in a safe, and you have to have ammunition locked in another safe.
Yes.
I don't know what the parent situation is. If say it's a solo mum, maybe she needs to have a loaded gun in the house. But I mean, it should be somewhere the kid can't get access to. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, Adam, you tell us. Is it the same rules that apply? Your ammunition has to be locked away somewhere, and your gun has to be locked away, or no? Like that's how it is in Canada.
As far as I know, there are no actual. I don't know of any actual federal laws in the United States as far as how you have to store your guns.
Mm-hmm.
Like I believe that I don't believe that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know of any federal laws. Some states may have something, but I don't know of any federal laws that require guns to be kept in a specific place.
Really?
I mean, we barely have any, and I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but we barely have any laws as far as how many guns someone can own, or what kinds of guns, or who can own a gun. That's all very political here. So
yeah, it is. And again, it's quite different that I'm Canadian, for anyone that doesn't know. So yes, exactly like what Tony said there. Same thing. They have to be stored. For even to be able to have a gun, you have to go through a whole rigmarole. There's very few people that can own, like a hunter can have guns and certain things, but you can't just have guns. And I know it's quite different in the United States. I don't really know what your laws are for storing, or the gun laws there are south.
I don't think there are any for storage.
Yeah. So in that case, if there's not, I mean, at the end of the day, the responsibility is still on the parent to make sure that this child that children don't have access to these. So I am curious if the parent or parents are going to be charged or not for this. Just because obviously at the end of the day, they're the ones that are accountable.
Right. Well, if you look at the Michigan case, not to interrupt you, Sonny, but if you look at the Michigan case, I can't remember that boy's name now, but his parents were both charged.
Yeah. Okay. And it's one of those things, rightfully so. If you're going to be irresponsible and allow something like this to happen, and then a child goes to school who's 6 years old, takes a gun, has bullets, whatever, shoots a teacher, and this teacher was lucky enough to live. I mean, if this teacher had died, again, I mean, that would have been horrific. Thank God she lived. But the responsibility has to lie somewhere, and in this case, it's on the parents. Absolutely.
Yeah, at 6 years old, I don't think that should be arguable. You know,
Yeah.
a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, I support responsible gun ownership, but a 6-year-old having easily access to a gun, never acceptable under any circumstance.
Yeah.
Those parents are extremely lucky the teacher's alive.
Right, and even if it was an honest mistake, I mean, how tragic.
Well, the thing is that, I mean, for the parent or the child, because they were saying it's intentional.
No, meaning the parent. Like, I'm saying, even if it was a once-off that, there was that they, I mean, assuming probably not, but even if it was a once-off, we don't know the circumstances with the
Doesn't
parents.
matter.
But even if they accidentally left it somewhere one time,
Yeah.
how horrible.
Well, that's just like, even if somebody accidentally drank one time and killed someone.
No, I know. I know.
Yeah. So for me, it's just like, again, I mean, the same thing. It's a 6-year-old that was able to get hold of a gun that she never should have had access to the gun, and that's like I said, your guys' laws are so different. So it is kind of hard for me to wrap my head around how easy it is to own a gun out there,
Thank
and
you,
the
Deb.
fact, pardon?
I said, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I said, thank you, Deb.
Yeah. So yeah, because our laws are so different, it is hard for me to wrap myself around that. Just because of how different the laws are, here to there, like I said,
Yeah.
here they have to be stored and locked in 2 different places. In your head, you're thinking, great. Well, if somebody comes in my place, I got to go unlock the bullets and unlock the gun type of thing.
Can I ask, do they have, like, we're in the U.S., like I said, I was very confident that we didn't have any federal laws about storage. In Canada, is that all federal, or are there different laws in each province?
Federal.
Okay. And how about New Zealand?
Tony, how about New Zealand?
Sorry, I keep on muting myself talking and no one's listening because they can't hear me. What was the question? What was the question, buddy?
No,
I missed that.
I was just asking, in New Zealand, because I don't know much about New Zealand's laws. Is that a federal law, or are there different laws for different regions or provinces?
No, we just have there's one law for the whole country for everything.
Okay.
We don't have states or provinces. We have provinces, but we don't have states. So, if there's a law, it's for the whole country. It's the same the whole way through.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I know. I do want to go to this next one. That is going to be a little bit, I think, more informative to show us.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, this video is about 9 minutes or so. So take your time. Take your time.
My heart stopped. I was freaking out, very nervous, just wondering, was that one person my son? But he's okay.
You is that the altercation was between a 6-year-old, the student who did have the firearm, and the teacher, and then a round was fired. Like I said, she suffered a gunshot wound and has been transported to the hospital. That's where my thoughts and prayers are at right now.
And are they intentional or accidental?
This was not an accidental shooting.
They are, I believe, sort of more around the corner.
I've seen parents come out.
There was a report of a gunfire inside the school. Deputy sheriffs were the first to be on the scene within a few minutes. What we discovered when officers arrived here is that we had one adult female that suffered a gunshot wound. She is a teacher here at the school. She was transported to a local hospital where I can tell you that is where our thoughts and prayers are at right now, that she is still considered, her injuries are still considered life-threatening, but there was some improvement the last update that we got. The individual is a 6-year-old student. He is right now in police custody as we're working at the best way to our partners and different resources to address that situation. We have been in contact with our Commonwealth attorney and some other entities to help us best get services to this young man. The only thing I can tell you is that the altercation was between a 6-year-old, the student who did have the firearm, and the teacher, and then a round was fired. Like I said, she suffered a gunshot wound and has been transported to the hospital. That's where my thoughts and prayers are at right now.
And are they intentional or accidental?
This was not an accidental shooting.
They are, I believe, sort of more around the corner.
I've seen parents come out.
Because it seems like it's just that one is just repeating itself for the most part over and over on there. Yeah, I would really like to know why. Oh, what's your dog's name? Yeah, you're
Eva Longoria.
Oh, really, Eva? Okay.
Yeah, let's call it Eva, but Eva Longoria is her full name.
Yeah, or Eva Long Dong, even Long Dong Longoria.
Like from like from Desperate Housewives, Eva Longoria.
Yeah,
That's the one.
So cute. I mean, dogs are so loyal. Is this the only pet you have? Is the dog, Eva?
Yeah, it's just me and the girl here. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Eva.
Eva, you say it.
Hi, Eva.
Sure.
Sometimes I was gonna say sometimes I feel like the animals can hear, because when my husband calls sometimes and Bambi starts meowing, I'm like, my husband will go, Bambi, Bambi, and it's just like Bambi looking around, and I'm just like right here on the phone. So cute.
Right.
So yeah, again, I would really love to know why. Like, meaning if this was an intentional shooting, it's just really pathetic and sad, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
That a 6-year-old is taking a gun to school with the intention of hurting his teacher. Yet a 6-year-old still, a 6-year-old doesn't comprehend that type of actions. They know that they're taking a gun, but they really don't understand what that this teacher literally could have, like, you know what I mean? They don't understand that this teacher could have died and she's lucky to be alive.
Right.
And so let me put it this way, I mean, that is so crazy. Thank goodness she's alive. But that's just so crazy that had she have died, a 6-year-old had a gun, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the parents. I think it's parents of this child for charges against them for this child having the ability to have access to this gun to take to school. Now, Deb keeps saying that this child took bullets to school the week prior, but did they say anything more than that, Deb? Like, why was he showing them around? Like, so so was this hindsight that they knew he took some a week earlier? Meg says, I have heard from some employees that he had got reprimanded the day before for something. Again, I'm not sure. Okay, so he got probably reprimanded, angry at teacher, knows that there's a gun in the house, and, knows that it could inflict pain, and kill, because I'm sure this kid watches cartoons and movies and knows all that stuff by now. So the intent basically is that he's mad at his teacher, sounds like.
Right. And sadly, children don't have the cognitive ability to. And I'm not accusing this child. I'm not advocating that this child isn't guilty of what they did, but a 6-year-old doesn't have the cognitive ability to comprehend the actions they take, let alone the consequences of the actions that they're going to take. Mm-hmm. And the whole situation to me is tragic all the way around.
Mm-hmm. How old is Eva?
Oh, okay. The question's about the dog or me? I wasn't sure. I was just trying to clarify that. That Eva is 6 years old.
6 years old. Okay. And how long does that breed typically live till?
Her father was a Dogo Argentino, and they gave about 10 years. Her mum was a pit bull boxer, and she lived till 16. So I'd like to get 12 years. Another 6 years. I'd be pretty happy with that.
Okay, thank you. I know. Everyone must love dogs, right? Must love animals. I'm a pet lover myself. I think a lot of people in here are, because usually when you have very caring hearts, that just goes along with it with pets. Deb says, I think that they was probably mad she turned him in for bringing the bullets earlier in the week. Again, the people that this all impacted due to the fact that this child had access to this weapon. And then on top of that, imagine the parents that are getting phone calls to say that there's been a shooting at the school. And like, I would be in full on panic mode, obviously, like almost probably restraining panic mode, to even have to listen to that. I mean, you see all the parents picking up their children, that they're glad that they're okay and stuff like that. But imagine, like I said, getting that phone call, hearing that news, getting that text that there's been a shooting at the school. And we all know that in the United States, there's been quite a few mass school shootings throughout the years and stuff like that.
Every day almost.
Yeah, and it's just the thought that's, and then to find out it's a 6-year-old. And like they said, unprecedented. Don't have coping skills. Yeah, I don't know. Tony, any more thoughts that you wanted to say on it?
No, I mean, well, actually, quite a few things. I'd like a profile of the parents. I'd like to see what they look like first of all, make a judgment on that, and then I'd like to know what sort of characters they are. I'd like to know the child's behaviour 5 minutes before the incident. I'd like to know how much malice the child had. I'd like to know what led up to it. Has the teacher bullied the child? What's happened is, is it a good kid that's been bullied by a bad teacher? Is it a bad kid that's cracked out and said, look, mate, what do I want to know? I've got a million questions, but I can't really say anything about it.
Right, yeah. And like I said, I mean, the world is so different now, I mean, at 2 years old, my son could crawl on the desk and pick out, Thomas the Tank Engine, when you put a CD into the thing and played a game. At 2 years old, he could do that. My son has been playing on the computer since he was like pretty much that 2 years old, in a sense. First it starts off with those little, Thomas the Tank things, and then his little best friend that was 2 years older was playing a game called RuneScape, which I've played, my husband's played, my husband, and stuff like that. And, and sometimes, like I said, when you're not looking, I remember this one day, my son comes in the room and he's like, Mom, because the internet, we can talk to whoever we want pretty much. And he's like, Mom, I'm getting mad. This guy keeps telling me to F off. And I'm like, oh, not even thinking that when you're playing with kids online at the time. Now we're going back like 22 years here, but not even thinking at the time that that bullying stuff is happening as you're playing a game. I mean, when you listen to these kids that are online playing games and how they're talking to each other, what's that?
Oh, it's waving at Diamond Eyes. We're having a little conversation.
Do you need a bedroom, Diamond Eyes? Get a room, get it.
Hey.
Nah. Diamond Eyes. Diamond Eyes. Where's Diamond Eyes? You're from Canada, aren't you? Isn't she Canadian? I think Diamond Eyes is Canadian. Yes, she is. 58 to here at Tony's. Oh, what do you guys? Are we having? You guys all flirting in chat over here? Am I missing something? My husband is a high school principal, and my daughter is currently doing her internship for her to become a teacher. It's stressful and scary. I'm thinking so nowadays, to be honest with you, just like it's scary to be a police officer, you know? And it's much for these same reasons that people don't want to become LE officers and stuff and teachers because of look at the mass shootings that are happening, and it's so sad because you go in there, most teachers will go in there because they love children and love teaching and all that stuff, and they're doing things because they're really caring people, and then they have to put up with stuff like this,
Yeah.
or people are
Well,
worrying
it's
about.
scary. What are they going to do? Wear flak jackets to school now? I mean,
I know.
I thought I heard somewhere they had metal detectors at American schools. That's like a. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, the incidences that these things typically happen at are not those schools, because the schools they put those metal detectors in are usually inner city schools, and they're usually not these rural or suburban schools that these events usually happen in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Deb. Deb saying, Meg, my daughter taught for 11 years and quit last year. It was just becoming too much. She had a fifth grader threaten to bring a gun to school and shoot everyone.
I have a client that's a teacher that she had a first grader tell her he wished she was dead.
And
and I've had 4 teachers as clients that have left that have left education in the last year, 6 that have left in the last 2 years for different reasons, of course. Some of it was the situation we've all been going through for the last couple of years, but and the difficulties with school systems, but some of it's this as well.
The sad thing is these people are, they're similar to nurses and things. They're sort of caring people. They go into, maybe not so much with some cops, but a lot of teachers, for example, care about kids, want to teach kids. They had a teacher that influenced them as a kid probably, and they want to do the same thing, give back. And they're paid a pittance. And now they have to put their lives on the line just to go to work. I mean,
Right. You could look at it, even the simplest things as far as teachers that have to buy their own school supplies and Kleenexes and markers and things like that because they just don't have the fun. But then you put in the danger of like I had a teacher that was telling me how she legitimately, after I can't remember, it was after one of the mass shootings at a school, she told me how what like she's like, okay, well I've got a an armoire in my classroom, and she's like I know where I have to go to put the kids safe, but she's like, then I don't, she's like or if I'm in my room alone, even in between classes or something, or during a free hour, she's like, that's where I would go to hide. And I'm like, you shouldn't have to think about that, especially when you're making $40,000 a year, if that.
Yeah, it's a bit of an eye-opener, this one.
And sadly, another one will happen tomorrow.
Right. Somewhere else. Let's just 1 second here. I'm just going to check my... Oh, Let's see here. Do, 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 do.
I'll be right back, Sonny.
I hear you, Grandma watches. I mean, yeah, exactly. I hear you.
I'm just trying to see.
I read you.
I don't see it. Grandma watches. You said you sent it to me. I sent that. Has anyone? There is a part of that audio I sent Sunny that a mother is proud of that. Did you send it to @crimingshame@gmail.com? Death Valley. They are requiring so much on teachers too. It has become ridiculous. I just, it's just so absurd. Let's see here. See, I have some emails though. But I don't see one. Alex email Richard Allen. Yeah. It was those videos I sent a few months ago. I added you to the account to see them. Oh, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, to be honest with you. I was those videos I sent a few months ago. I added you to the account to see them. Oh, don't expect me to find those now. Just no. Without severe looking for them.
What is it? Yeah.
The Brit Bobbies didn't have guns till a few years ago. Had bats.
Yeah. You know, another problem, and I don't know. Excuse me if I misspeak on any of the specifics, but I know that in North Carolina, in a lot of school districts across the country, one overlooked, I think, issue that that happens is that because of privacy laws, especially involving juveniles, which is necessary because they're kids, but a lot of school districts, if there's an incident or multiple, regardless of what they are, and they say they expel the child, a lot of school, they're prevented from sharing the actual incident report from what specifically happened when the child then goes to a new school. And so one thing like that can happen, and it's very common, is if there's little aggravative things that happen in a child's history and they go from school to school, the new school doesn't know exactly what happened in that last school. And so sometimes these kids can get to middle school, high school, and have had very big red flags in their past, but the school that they're at then currently isn't made aware of what those incidents were because of the privacy laws with juveniles. And so I know in one of the incidents, it may have been the Michigan one, I can't remember, but that was something that took, this was like the kid's like third school or something, and there had been violent things in his past, but school districts then can't, they're prohibited from providing the details of what happened. So a new school may know there was an incident, they will have no idea what it was.
Yeah. Kind of like your health record sometimes.
Right. And so then, by the time some of these kids get, like I said, to middle school or high school, I mean, it's like they're screaming out for the fact that, something needs to be done or help, and it slips through the cracks.
Yeah. I do want to play this 5-minute video here. Again, I just kind of want to see a little bit more about it because the other one was just a little repetitive thing. So this one's going to be about 5 minutes. Okay, guys? So make screen bigger.
Happened again. Another school shooting, this one interrupting an otherwise quiet afternoon at Rich Neck Elementary in Newport News.
As we come on the air tonight, a first grade teacher is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The gunman, a 6-year-old boy, is in custody. Earlier this evening, Police Chief Steve Drew told us the shooting was not an accident.
We have live team coverage. Angelique Garantok is live outside Riverside Regional Medical Center with more on how that teacher is doing. But we start with Sarah Hammond, who was at the school as parents were reunited with their kids. Sarah.
Well, it's been a long day for these families and teachers, to say the least. And what we know right now is a 6-year-old student shot a teacher in a classroom here at Rich Neck Elementary. And as parents waited in a long line this afternoon to be reunited with their students here on the basketball court, there were plenty of hugs and tears.
Subject with a gun at Rich Neck Elementary School acknowledged.
Parents in Newport News are holding their children close Friday night.
We had a female victim shot in the abdomen.
Police say after an argument in a classroom, a first grader pulled out a handgun and shot his teacher.
This was not an accidental shooting.
Medics took the teacher to the hospital with life-threatening injuries.
There was some improvement the last update that we got.
As for the 6-year-old,
We have a shooter.
Police Chief Steve Drew says the boy is in custody and he has a lot of questions.
I want to know where that firearm came from.
When Jocelyn Glover got the message from the school telling her someone was shot, she came running.
My heart stopped. I was freaking out, very nervous, just wondering, was that one person my son?
Tracy DeBrew has a grandson at the school. She says her heart dropped when she heard what happened.
I'm thinking of the age of these children and what they possibly were going through at that time.
After waiting in line to be reunited with their son and grandson, both women say they felt like they could breathe again.
Just glad that he was okay and knowing that, it was over with and now he's with this family.
Oh, God, I lit up. It's my baby. It's my baby. He's okay. It's a crazy world we live in.
And I spoke to 2 other mothers off camera. One told me she waited in line for almost 2 hours to be reunited with her son this afternoon. Another one told me this is the second text message she's gotten like this in the last 2 years. Her son went to Heritage High School. And if you'll remember, last year, a student opened fire there at that school. And so I think it's safe to say, while these parents are thrilled they were reunited with their students and their kids are safe, they're heartbroken they had to be exposed to this violence at all. Live in Newport News, Sarah Hammond, 13 News Now.
Sarah, thank you. Angelique Garantok picks up our team coverage now. She is live from Riverside Regional Medical Center, where medics rushed the teacher this afternoon.
And Angelique, do we know how she's doing tonight? What's the latest?
Newport News Police Chief Steve Drew said during his latest press conference that the teacher is dealing with life-threatening injuries. At that time, though, they had heard about some signs of improvement to her health. We haven't yet learned of an update since then, but Drew, as well as the new mayor in Newport News, Philip Jones, mentioned wanting to come here to the hospital, Riverside Regional, to check in on the teacher, console her and her family. A Rich Neck Elementary School teacher is seriously hurt and in the hospital.
I'm in awe and I'm in shock and I'm disheartened.
After Newport News authorities say a 6-year-old boy who attends the school fired a single shot inside a first-grade classroom.
Today, our students got a lesson in gun violence and what guns can do to disrupt not only an educational environment, but also a family, a community.
School Superintendent Dr. George Parker says part of the division's existing security measures include random metal detection. Parker believes a great deal of prevention happens at home and in the community.
I cannot control access to weapons. My teachers cannot control access to weapons. It comes on campus because of access in the community. And this is not a Newport News problem. It's a bigger and broader problem than what we're seeing today.
But Parker says administrators will review safety protocol and whether they should make adjustments. Philip Jones, who just officially became mayor on January 1st, pledges to do something similar.
There's going to be a full after action, not only from internally of the city council, but school board and others, but we are going to ensure that we have the right steps and policies so this doesn't happen again.
Jones, Parker, and the police chief praised the emergency crews, Rich Neck faculty, and the young students for how they responded to the shooting.
It's a dark day for Newport News. We're going to learn from this and we're going to come back stronger.
A Riverside Health spokesperson declined to comment on the teacher's condition, citing privacy laws and the ongoing police investigation. Chief Drew did say the teacher is in her 30s and at last check badly hurt but improving. So many in this community and beyond are rooting for the teacher's full recovery.
Okay, so, whatchamacallit must have dropped off there. So I have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just noticed he was gone, so I said, "Oops."
Yeah, he was there. I don't know what he hit. Meg. So I can tell Meg's probably like me as a parent, very protective of your child or children. I'm not sure if you have more than one, Meg. I have one myself, and now he just turned 26 January, on January 4th. But my question to you guys watching right now, and I know you don't have any, Adam, but
No,
my
but
Yeah.
but my best friend has a 6-year-old, and I can't even think about the fact of her doing something like this. And then I know after the Uvalde thing, I texted my sister immediately, who my youngest niece is 1, and I'm like, we need to homeschool.
Well, that's exactly what I was. So my question was going to be, is that right? Like, what would you guys do as parents if this exactly happened to your child in school? Would you homeschool them? I couldn't imagine sending my child back to school the next day. Just even like I would be in such a panic just knowing that, yeah, it was this child that did this, a 6-year-old. And then there's the copycat little kids like, oh, my parent has a gun, those ones that don't sit right in the head. I don't know, like I tell you what, I'll tell you what I'd do. My kid would be homeschooled if that had ever happened, honestly, without a thought. I'm very protective. I was always very protective of my son, and for the reasons of because of the paper bag rapist guy, and
Right.
For that
And I know
reason,
some people don't have that option.
no,
I
right.
mean, some people just, they don't have the option to homeschool, but
Well,
because of finances or whatever,
correct. But unless you're put in that situation, it's amazing how it's amazing sometimes what what people do or can do or are able to achieve in a sense, because life throws you curveballs all the time. So it's one of those things. Like, would you guys feel safe about sending your kid to school the next day? Would you wait a week? Would you, what would you do? I'm curious.
I know my sister, when I texted her that day, she said, "Yeah, but I mean, because it's a joke that she was like, homeschool kids are weird though," and I said, "Yeah, but at least they're alive."
Yeah. Did Shooter?
I'm sorry.
No,
I
go
was saying,
ahead.
and I know that because of the internet now, their homeschooling is different than it was when I was a kid or when you were a child, Sonny.
Yeah.
I mean, there are online communities and internet groups that there's whole communities for homeschooling, so where it's not like an isolated where you're literally just at home, for 8 hours a day with your kid, teaching them.
Let's say to Tony. Tony, thank you very much for joining us for a little bit today. Nice to meet Eva Longoria. Finally, I didn't realize she looked like a dog up until today.
I'm just a little jealous that Tony hasn't added me on Messenger after we've talked so much in chat.
Wow, you want to flirt with him too? Okay, fine.
He's into women, but I like the attention.
If I answered honestly, you know what? In all fairness, I get that. I have to really bite my tongue when it comes to the gun laws between United States and Canada, because if I said what I really thought, it would piss a lot of Americans off, and it's not to piss a lot of Americans off. It's because I just think guns kill, and when you have such easy access, they kill. And I honestly, I didn't actually realize until you guys just said that. For some reason, I thought that your guys' guns had to be locked, and bullets in a separate area as well. But yet in my head I was picturing how sometimes when I watch people talk on here and they're saying that they have a gun, that they're packing a gun with them. So obviously in my head, I'm thinking, well, if they're able to walk with a gun, obviously their bullets don't have to be, and stuff like that. It's a hard thing for me to wrap my head around when you don't grow up with, like the Americans that way, and you grow up in a world that we know it's very hard to get a gun, for hunting and all that, and you have to, do so much paperwork in order to achieve that and stuff. It's just hard for me to wrap around in my head, especially when I'm like, oh, another mass shooting. Oh, there goes another, and it's sad that Uvalde, is that how you say it, Uvalde? I mean, I think that one there still could have had some lives saved, if things were done differently, but it's not the way it went. It's not the way, right? People kill, but I'm not going to get into that because having access to guns, yeah, it's one of those ones that I know that when I've brought it up before, people get very defensive about certain things. Instead of it being a debate about stuff, people get very defensive about their rights and this and that. So it's not, it's just not worth it, because there's certain things you don't, church, you stay away from church talk, politics for the most part, guns, guns in a certain sense. And there's just a few topics that people get very heated and debated about and stuff like that. And the gun laws is one of them. At the end of the day, it really becomes every situation. And in this particular situation, right, it is getting worse. But I mean, we can't even compare our population to United States population. We are like a nad, for population compared to the population in America. But as a whole, to me, everything's getting worse. Of course it is. The internet, the scamming, the internet, like I said, whether it's the pedos, whether it's the gun violence, whether it's the copycat, whether it's people doing all these crazy things online on their TikTok, Instagrams, it's almost like it's a free for all. Like that's what it feels like to me, a little bit of a free for all. Like, do you remember the girl licking the toilet when COVID came around? Oh, I shouldn't say that word. Stop saying that word. I know we're allowed to say that word, but C word, the C word, the C word.
Yeah, I mean, every system has problems, and again, I don't want to get into that whole thing either, But as the only American on panel, I I know that I can say that I personally did not grow up in a household with firearms, but I grew up in an area of the country where I would say 90% of the people that I knew had guns in their household. I mean, my grandpa used to keep a shotgun in the in the linen closet by the front door, leaned up against the wall, and sometimes it would fall over when you opened the door. But that was a different time as well. But I will say there is a big difference between what I assume to be the majority of people that are very responsible in the way that they do handle, own, and lock up, protect, and use their firearms, as opposed to the small percentage of people that obtain them and use them for nefarious purposes, or that handle them improperly. But it's incredibly complicated, difficult, and there's also a huge industry that works and puts millions, if not billions, of dollars into making sure that there's not that there aren't any, that the restrictions that they place upon gun ownership don't change or become any stricter than they are. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's a hugely complicated issue, and sadly it becomes political, and sadly it becomes one of those things that there's huge industries also that benefit off of the sales of guns. But I think the majority of people that own guns in the United States handle them, use them, and have them for responsible reasons. It's just sadly that not everyone does that, and some people get their hands on them that shouldn't have them.
Well, this is the thing. if this gun, just saying, if this gun had to be locked and the guns had to be in a separate place locked, this child would have never had access to this gun. He wouldn't have. And not to say that these parents, well, obviously they were irresponsible because their child was able to access this gun. So obviously it was left somewhere for him to be able to access bullets and the gun. Now, these parents might be really good parents, not saying that they aren't, but obviously this is going to teach them a lesson, a huge lesson, at the fact of, right, people make mistakes, you know. Again, unless you live, and I didn't, unless you live and you have guns around and stuff like that, and perhaps it was left somewhere and it was forgotten about, they forgot to put it somewhere, whatever. Either way, it goes back to the parents, obviously. So it's a hard one, because had this child not been had the guns and bullets been locked up like what we're used to, this wouldn't happen. It wouldn't be able to happen unless that child was 6 years old and broke into your, got the keys and undid it and whatever. But
right.
It's a hard.
I mean, I know growing up, I had friends that at 8 years old were going out with their dads shooting and hunting. And, it's just, part of it is culture.
Yeah.
And like I said, I never grew up in a household with guns. I've only ever fired a BB gun in my life. I've actually thought
BB
about,
guns are fun.
I've actually thought about going and learning how to use one,
Yeah.
just for my own personal interest. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
just something, because I don't know a lot about it.
Me neither. Never cared to. I wasn't.
I mean, they've always scared me personally.
Same.
But again, I have a lot of friends that that carry. I have clients that carry. I have friends on YouTube that carry a firearm with them all the time. So do you, Sonny. And I always joke, and I just always, jokingly, of course, say, well, don't cross them. But I mean, in high school, and literally in my high school, people had gun racks in their car. And, it was not uncommon to see a shotgun in someone's car in the parking lot at high school.
Yeah.
But that was just the culture I grew up in. I mean, we didn't have school on the first day of deer hunting season every year, on shotgun season, which is usually in November. We didn't have school because too many people wouldn't be there because they would be out hunting.
Yeah. I mean, I still when I think only because my ex-husband was a hunter, and I don't even know why I got with him. Smack me now for that, because it didn't even dawn on me when I was going out with him. At the time, I was 26 and he was 21, a very mature 21. Well, as he got older, he got more immature, but whatever. But it didn't even dawn on me, because I, first of all, do not like killing. Yes, I have meat and stuff like that, but I still don't like the killing of animals and stuff. I know that as the world turns and, these are the days of our lives, and,
Oh, great. Now I'm going to have that in my head.
and, the circle of life, like my ex-husband would say, well, it's a circle of life. But it didn't even dawn on me that he was a hunter, because I would literally just bawl whenever I seen anybody or animal getting shot or anything like that. And then, I kind of had to take, being females and stuff like that. And you kind of are you have to do kind of what they like to do, because, it's your partner, and you gotta, you get them to do things that they don't necessarily want to do, and you do. So I would go hunting, and, I would go to the gun range. But guns scared me. Guns scare me. Yes, they do. Go ahead.
No. You finish. I was just reading the.
No, it's just the fact of, when I was going through that whole divorce thing, when I seen the darkness in his eyes this one particular day, like I said, all I could think about was that his eyes were so dark and so angry. All I could think about was the gun that was in the garage, with, bullets separate, but still. And all I could think about was he looked angry enough, that he could pay me. Right. And that's the first time in my life I was actually scared. But by nature, I don't like guns. Guns kill people. People kill people.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say guns. I mean, guns kill people, but it's the people that obviously pull
Yeah.
the trigger and do stuff.
And a lot of people, and like grandma watches says, and and that's actually, that's the reason that I said when I said that my grandpa, when I was growing up, would keep his shotgun in the leaned up against the wall in the linen closet. It's because I grew up on a farm, and he kept it there because of coyotes, of different animals that would then attack the herd, and cause financial damage if that's your livelihood and you own a farm. That was the purpose for him having that there. So I understand that as well. And a lot of the people that I knew grew up hunting. It actually, it was lower middle class area of the country, and so a lot of the people that hunted, they also then relied on the things that they hunted for food. They would process. I've never had venison, which is deer meat, but everyone I knew, they would get their deer meat and a lot of times they would eat it throughout the winter, or other animals that they hunted. It would be their food source. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
My thing is this: we have farms here.
I don't want to eat it.
We have coyotes here as well. We're not allowed to go out, pull the gun trigger. You can't just do that.
I bet they have a shot. I bet you're allowed to have a shotgun. I bet.
No, you're not. Well, yeah, but you can't just go shoot. You can't literally just go shoot. When you go hunting, you have to first of all apply for the area that you're going to go hunting in. You just can't go out in your yard and go coyote there. I'm going to go shoot it. You can't do that here. So it's just one of those things. So it's like you guys deal with it your way over there. They have the laws here, but yeah, when you go hunting and stuff like that, you are reserved to a certain spot that you are allowed to go in, that for certain areas or whatever. Like say you have allowed to kill whatever, a deer or something like that, or 2 deer that year. But yeah, it's not like you can just go out in your backyard and go. I mean, some people probably do. Don't get me wrong.
Sadly, we probably do have stricter hunting laws than we do anything else with guns, because there are only certain days there are only certain times of the year you're allowed to hunt certain things. I mean, even fishing. I mean, we have strict. The laws we have for those things are actually probably stricter than they are just for ownership.
Yeah.
And someone told me,
sorry.
It could be argued that it's easier in the United States to get a driver's license than it is a gun license, but again, then and again, I don't want to go too far into that argument, because the same thing can also be said as when has something being against the law stopped a criminal from getting and doing something? So even if someone's not supposed to have a gun, or they made the gun law stricter, what is going to make someone that wants one?
I guess.
And now you can make them with a 3D printer. Yeah. That's the other thing.
I guess it becomes the access, for me in my head, it becomes the access, meaning the more guns that are out there, it's just common sense. So the more guns that are out there, the more there is the ability for something to go wrong with them. It doesn't matter. So meaning if you have 100 million guns, or let's just say 100,000, versus say, if there was say a little bit more control, and maybe there was only 50,000, maybe we wouldn't see as much as this. Because yes, no matter what, the bad people are always going to try, and the ones that are going to try to get those in their hands regardless. So it becomes about the numbers thing. So are we going to have as much as this if we had more control of this?
And that goes immediately then into I'm sorry, but I would say that goes immediately into the what a lot of people in the US would say is, yeah, but that's when people say, oh, what are they going to come and take our guns? And then that's what turns that whole conversation south really quick.
Yeah, right. and that's where it's just like I said, for me, it's foreign to me. Again, it's a topic. And bottom line is, like I said, like this 6-year-old, went to school from the irresponsibility of the parents, is what created this. So obviously he had some sort of anger issues or some sort of thing going on, whatever. Like I said, you watched TV, kids watch TV all the time. They see gun violence. They're not oblivious to what they're seeing. Doesn't mean that they fully understand it because, we all know in cartoons, they all get back up and, rejuvenate themselves
Right.
and stuff like
Yosemite
that.
Sam.
Right? Like in Call of Duty and stuff, you just go revive the body. Next thing you know, so they don't comprehend exactly that extent. And this 6-year-old, so like whatever, like said, whether he was a little pissy or whatever, sees a gun, takes it to school. And because of the parents not doing their due diligence, this happened today. And sadly, it happens. I mean, we've seen it so many times with other stories. A child, even 12 years old, and they're playing around with their parents' gun. And next thing you know, their friend is shot because they're.
It's all the time.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to take away. I don't want to take the attention away from this specific incident and go into the whole gun thing. But like another thing that is very common because of like gun ownership in the U.S. Like, and I'm sure anyone that grew up in a family with guns or people, knows that yes, there are laws about transferring ownership of guns. But everyone that has, a grandpa or, a relative that passes away that owned guns, usually they just are given to someone else in the family, and so then, it can be, and, you're supposed to then transfer the registration on that gun to the new person. But a lot of times it doesn't happen because sometimes it's innocent. And sometimes it's just like, oh, here's my grandpa's shotgun that they gave me, but so then you don't even know whose hands what guns are in. But again, I'm not saying that I don't think that people shouldn't be allowed to own guns, because I support people's right to, I just don't think things like this should happen. And I don't have the answer as to how to prevent that.
Well, the thing is that right. And that's just the thing. There are things to do to prevent this, regardless. The world isn't a nice place. And again, so what do? Do they have lockers that they have to force to be put their knapsacks and get checked when the kids come into school? Like, it's sad that all these things have to keep getting implemented because of things like this. It's just heartbreaking. Like the LE officer guy says, it's unprecedented. A 6-year-old, like a 6-year-old,
and next it'll be a 5-year-old,
and you're just thinking like and it was intentional. Like he intended to take it to school to shoot, but obviously he's doesn't realize the repercussions of his actions and the repercussions that he now put upon. I don't want to say put upon his parents, but because it's his parents that were responsible, and that's the bottom line, is that it will go right back to the parents no matter what, of all this. But for that kid to decide, so I'll be interested in the story behind it, of if they do tell us why the child decided that he was going to bring a gun to school that day and shoot the teacher, because it went through her hand, and then went into her chest. Thank goodness she is alive.
And I'll speculate, as far as chances are this kid grew up in a household where, for whatever reason, things probably weren't great, whether it be the way his family handled things or the way his family behaved or whatever. But one, the kid had access to the weapon, and he had rage and anger at an age that he doesn't even have the mental capabilities to understand what he's feeling. And there was, I mean, there's so many ways this could have been stopped. I mean, as far as even just how's your 6-year-old going to school without you knowing what's in his backpack?
Well,
you're putting the lunch in there.
Anyway, huh? Yeah, you missed everything. We're off now. Bye, Ray.
All right.
Shelly, pretty much, if someone was going to come, you're going to be like, excuse me, can you hold on? I'm just going to go get my bullets from here.
I get that too.
So correct. It's one of those things in your head. You're like, okay, so if something happens, could you wait please for a second, just while I go get my armor? So yes, I get it as well. But then again, our population is not even close to your guys' population. You guys are like 350 million or wherever you're at versus our 35 million.
Do we know what kind of gun this was?
Yeah, it was a 9mm.
Okay.
And so yeah, I think that somebody said something. Oh, that transfer is really taken seriously now in some states. We had to report any guns to be held responsible for what happens to my father's when he died.
Yeah, of course you're supposed to, Grandma Watches, but that doesn't mean it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. If we could just send JLR, if we could just send Jonathan Lee Rich's investigates, if we could just send him down over to Rich Neck, I think that actually goes hand in hand, to be honest with you.
Well, and and then people, sometimes will throw in that, and I keep going. I feel like we'll keep going into the whole gun thing. But I'm like, so a lot of people say, oh, but if teachers, were able to have, guns or protect. So with this teacher, what would she have done if that kid had pulled out a gun? Is she going to turn around and shoot a 6-year-old in a class full of 6-year-olds?
Right.
So I mean, I don't think that's the answer either. So,
I mean, these poor children. I always think of the whole scope of it right away. I think
the babies.
I think of the children that had to witness this, that are like that. They're not even comprehending. Like
they believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah, the parents, what they had to go through. I mean, the embarrassment.
The Easter Bunny is real to them. Santa Claus is real to them.
No, it's true.
Their classmates getting murdered shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I'm just thinking how just absurd it is that a 6-year-old goes into class, gets in an argument, and if they knew prior that there was an issue going on with this child and they don't take it somewhat seriously, and this child, let's say, came with, I'm not sure how that went though, but like if this child came with bullets and they were aware of it, that would be a suspension or something, and you would be very worried. But I'm not sure how that was. Deb just said that. Hi, Heaven. How are you? He's
and Austin, they do make those. I mean, I know they make gun safes with fingerprints. And again, people use the argument then, oh, but if it's for self-protection, what am I supposed to do? Tell a burglar to hold on while I go get my gun from here, and then I go get my bullets from here, and then
which
I just always think I can disarm them with my wit and humor, but sometimes when I first wake up, it's not there.
Maybe I would feel differently, about gun laws and stuff if I actually lived in the States where you guys do have such a vast population to ours. We have crime, obviously, but it pales in comparison to what you guys got going on there.
Right.
And that's the difference. I just possibly would feel different if I lived in, like I said, grew up in the States and a population was quite different, that a lot more was going on, so right. I don't know that I would be willing to sing the same tune, but I am not from USA. I'm from Canada. It's way smaller than you guys, and I'm just used to what laws we have here. Not that I agree with them all, don't get me wrong. It's just what we're used to.
My ex used to joke that it was a good thing I didn't own one because he was afraid I would use it. But no, what was I gonna say? Something else that a lot of people don't know. If you look up the statistics of because we do, of course, we have a lot of guns in the United States. If you look up the statistics of gun ownership, it's a very small percentage of people that own all of the guns, which is interesting. I mean, a lot of people, there are a lot of people, of course, that have one gun, but the majority of gun ownership in the United States is all by a small percentage of people. So a lot of the people that do own, and I'm not saying everyone, because of course there's a difference between having a gun for personal protection and self-protection than the people that are buying AR-15s. But a lot of the people that own the majority of guns own a lot of them.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, let me just play this clip. I never did play this clip on this one. So give us a second. I'm going to hit play. I think, and then pop it out.
Why is it so bad? Why is there a 7-year-old with a bloody gun?
This was not an accidental shooting. The individual is a 6-year-old student. He is right now in police custody as we're working at the best way to our partners and different resources to address that situation.
You've got a beautiful country, you've got beautiful people, but what's the problem? Guns. How does a 7-year-old have a gun? That's what I'm pissed off with. I'm only here because my husband's in the military, or otherwise I would not have chosen to come to this country.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Well. Well. She's pissed. And rightfully so. I mean, well, I mean, maybe not her last remark there, but I mean, rightfully so. She obviously, it was a 6-year-old, not a 7-year-old, but just the fact that she has to deal with that, like, right? How does a 7-year-old, but 6-year-old, to correct her, get a gun? Right. Well, that's exactly where the parents come in. Simple as that. The parents are responsible for this, and sadly, this stuff happens all the time, and it's just sad because we can be just so grateful though that this lady lived. She's in stable condition, and you can even just look at her and she looks like a beautiful soul, a typical teacher smiling, like you could see where, I don't know what his name was, but the gentleman that was doing the police conference there, whether it was a police chief or whatever, the first thing she asked was, how's her children? And then when he came back to see her again, first thing she asked was, how's the children? And you could tell he was just welling up with tears, because, right. I mean, I'm sure that he has children too. And just the impact, it's because, like I said, as an empath or just even a regular human being with care, you just can't help but feel the sadness of what's going on with this teacher, her family, like her. Thank goodness she's alive.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
I mean, and I'm gonna even, I don't ever give much sympathy to people that do things like this, but no 6-year-old has the mental capability to know what they're doing, why they're doing it, or what the consequences of what they're doing are. And so this now child, I mean, has done something that they're never going to be able to take back, and that not even thinking about what led up or caused them to get to this, but his whole life now, is going to be probably directed by these actions that he took when he didn't probably even understand what he was doing.
This is like, no offense, but this is almost like if this child obviously has issues in order just to think to take a gun to school, but this is to me like the making of those people out there, like the Brian or Kobergers of the world, hopefully, like, again,
or it could have just been a child that had no coping skills to even deal with something else that had happened in his life, and this is what he, for whatever reason, did.
Yeah, again, whatever. I mean, it would be interesting to understand what made this child decide that he was going to take a gun. Like I said, it would never enter my mind to ever take a gun to school because my brain doesn't work like that. But then again, if a gun's just laying there and you're pissed off and that guns hurt and cause pain and stuff like that,
it's heartbreaking, and because of the age of this child, and if this teacher lives, God will, I hope that she does, this child will probably re-enter society when they turn 18, because they'll probably go into some juvenile mental health or correctional facility. And then imagine what growing up in that environment will do to them. And then they're going to come out an adult. And will they have been, what will that have, what kind of adult will they then be?
Sorry, just to answer teacher or Heaven 57, she's in stable condition. So she will, survive her injuries. Thank goodness. This happened on Friday. And so at the time it was, she was in critical condition.
Yeah, I'd heard about it 2 days ago. And then I was in the midst of some of the Idaho stuff. And I was just like, I read the story and I was like heartbreaking. And then I kind of didn't think about it until I saw that. I think someone had done a live stream earlier today. They were playing, I think it was ICMEL was playing the press conference earlier today. And then I was like, oh. So when you messaged me, Sunny, I was like, oh yeah. Because I was starting to look in that other case that I was sending you stuff about.
Yeah, I was on
That's
Twitter.
super interesting. I wouldn't mind doing a live about that.
Which case?
If you want to later.
Which case?
The man that was arrested in Massachusetts. I believe it was Massachusetts. I sent you a couple articles and everything about it today. But I was like, because I was going to ask if you wanted to do a live later tonight about that.
Yeah, give me the gist of the story.
A woman went missing on New Year's Day. I believe it was it Massachusetts? And today, and she's been missing. Her husband was arrested today, I believe, and they found a bloody knife in the basement, and he spent $450 on cleaning supplies. A really interesting case.
Okay. Well, you know what? We'll do a live later tonight. We'll do there's some updates with the Idaho that I'd like to go over, including the.
Did you watch the special last night?
Which one? The one where the daughter.
The 45-minute News Nation one?
No.
Brian Inton did a really good 45-minute long. It's on YouTube on News Nation's channel. Did a new Idaho special that's where the clip came from. Kaylee's sister talking, but it was a full 45-minute special on the Idaho case, and it was really good. I watched it earlier today. It was
after our live last night, and I was like, after I closed whatever off, all of a sudden I seen the News Nation one with Kaylee's sister speak, and I'm like, oh.
And that was a clip from it.
Yeah, and I probably was too busy looking at the clip, and I was like, oh, I'm going to put out a little short. So I quickly made a little short for it. And
I saw that. Heaven Mom, agreed. I have not looked into the case a ton, but I'm just, I just started looking into it earlier today, and I was like, I want to cover this case. And then Sheppy Mom, I don't know about that case, but I would like to. If you want to email Sunny at acrimeandshame@gmail.com or me at truecrimeaspen@gmail.com. I'm sure we could look into it. Yes, there is something. There is the Shelley. Are you referring to the Delphi hearing that's on Friday with Richard Allen?
Yeah, you're referring to, on Friday. I think the time changed or something.
10 or 11, right?
11, I believe. 11.
Yeah, Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, no, hold on. I think it went to 8, didn't it?
No, I've got it right here. They updated it today.
Yeah, I've seen the thing.
11 a.m.
Okay, it is 11. Okay. What's at 8 a.m.? What's at 8 a.m.?
No idea.
Oh, pretty sure.
And just to read for anyone, that says court orders defendant supplements motion for discovery and request for Rule 405 and Rule 405, Rule 404 and Rule 405 set for hearing on January 13th, 2023 at 10 a.m. Court further orders defendant sex. Oh wait, so there are two.
Yeah.
So there are two hearings on
two
hearings back to back, one at 10, one at 11.
Yeah, okay.
So then it says further orders defendant ex parte motion and order authorizing funding, because remember the defense has asked for the state to pay for their own experts and everything.
Yeah.
Set for ex parte hearing January 13th, 2023 at 11 a.m. Order signed January 9th, 2023.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you guys haven't given a like and a share to this live, again, just bring awareness. It helps the algorithm, first of all, but it always is about bringing awareness so that other people that don't know about, for instance, a 6-year-old shooting become aware of it, right? Because again, it's just about bringing awareness as well to all those people so that, they can think about things like maybe they have a gun in their house, and something like this could possibly happen. It's just about bringing awareness. The more people that see things, the more aware people become. That's the main purpose of everything to do with the missing and the murdered.
Yeah.
Is really that out of something bad, the good thing obviously is that if it helps bring awareness or changes somebody's thoughts or actions of what they do and stuff like that, that's always a good thing. And that's that's the whole point of news and why it goes around. That people go, oh, maybe I should lock my door. I didn't think about these things and stuff like that. If I hear anything else, I will reach out. Okay, Meg. The
You said
email.
she knew RA?
Pardon?
Who said she knew RA?
Oh, an article that said it's not the Globe and Mail one or something, is it? She said she knew RA.
Who? And Austin. I'm referring to.
Something.
Brian Walsh. That's the case I want to cover later on tonight.
Really, Brian
We'll go over
Walsh?
some of the Idaho stuff, and then there's
wait.
no Delphi Patrol. This Brian Walsh guy, it's worth doing a live about.
I wanted to cover that case as well. I seen it the other day, like 2 days ago.
He's been arrested.
Yeah, and I remember, and I seen that he was arrested, and I was like, ooh, like that sounds like a case that I would like.
He got arrested today for the charges of misleading an investigation, but apparently they've located a bloody knife in the basement. And like I said, he spent $450 on cleaning supplies, but we'll cover that all later.
Yeah.
I do want to know who they're talking about, the new RA.
Diamond Eyes. I'm honestly not sure what Diamond Eyes is saying there, and then she says the one from a chat, but it's like a broken sentence to me. I'm not. Could you just say it in one comment if you can, Diamond Eyes? I'm totally lost what you're saying, or we're both totally lost actually what you're saying.
Yeah, or email one of us the article that you said you couldn't pull up, because every time I think it's funny because this is the second day that I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a day off. Like Saturday, I was like, oh, I'm not going on YouTube. I'm gonna lay around. I'm gonna watch TV all day. And then Sunny was like, hey, audio came out. This, well, I sent Sunny the thing, and then she was like, let's do a live. And then today I was laying around and I was like, oh, I got the day off. And then I was like, I was looking at cases and watching the News Nation thing. And then Sunny's like, hey, want to do a live? and I was like, when? And I looked and I was like, oh wait, 10 minutes from now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see if Diamond Eyes quickly answers, and other than that, we're gonna. Wait, I'll do it again. I'll post it. I'll post it, Meg.
Yeah, it's a crime and shame at gmail.com for Sunny, or truecrimeaspen@gmail.com for me. And either way, we'll forward the other, so that both of us have it.
Oh, sounded like WL.
We need a joint one, Sunny, where we can both log into the email.
Yeah. Well, I could probably just change the password for that one. Right? That's all I need to do for the.
I just don't want to see any of your any of your
Yes, you do.
any of your stuff you send that's private.
All right. Yeah, you do. So there's the emails right there. acrimeandshame@gmail.com. or truecrimeaspen@gmail.com.
And she said but who? Sounded
Diamond.
like WL. Who's WL?
I know, Diamond. And what did I tell you? Okay, the drinking, you save that for tonight, is what I said specifically.
I'm just curious who WL.
I know.
I mean, initial wise, I thought we'd covered them all with Delphi.
I know.
Because Judge,
It's like she's speaking a different language than us right now. Thanks, Tony. Again.
Yeah, Tony. Tony, I hope you send me a messenger.
On there.
I don't have any friends from New Zealand.
You don't?
Don't.
Kelly was just telling me, Callie, which is Kelly, was just telling me that she bought our winning ticket, and all I'm picturing is.
I was gonna do that. Damn it!
I was gonna go
buy a lottery ticket.
Oh, wife Lilith.
Oh, forget her.
Oh, that disgusting leech roach.
She used both of our names. I think she personally gave us a shout out in one of her posts today or yesterday.
Fine. Wife Lilith, that stupid post that you made. Thanks for the shout out, you evil wicked witch.
And I'm sorry, wife Lilith, but
so
I have the receipts to show that I've never lied about a thing I've said.
Yeah.
So come at me, sweetie.
I know. She's so
with your 200 followers.
I know. Well, no, actually, she's at 459 because I went and looked after somebody sent me that thing, and I was like, "Oh, even forget she is existed."
Freckled Joy says I look topless.
Huh.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
I color I wear very often.
Evil early live.
I'll change before tonight.
Yeah.
So I have a different shirt on.
Yeah, and if just a recommendation that if you are subscribed to Wife Lilith, do yourself a favor and unsubscribe. That's one loony bin by itself. Can you really make up these type of crazies? I mean, really, these people. It's just like
I think she's just mad she didn't get to swipe right on Brian when he was driving through Indiana.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. There's clearly someone that needs mental help, that needs financial help and guidance, and yet she's out there saving the world for Kagan Klein.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was about to fall asleep. I got so bored talking about her.
I know. Her name is like Slippy, Slimy, Sloot.
Just like her 4 ex-husbands. I got so tired really quickly.
I know. It's like you said, it's so laughable. It becomes to the point of so laughable. I'm on Twin Peaks kick right now. Mini Rabbit Hole.
Freckled Joy, the first one or the return?
Yeah, Adam's gonna come on the next live with some sort of Aussie accent, probably.
No one wants to hear that.
Wanda's saying if you have time on this January 6th, a 12-year-old stabbed her 9-year-old brother in Tulsa, Oklahoma, while parents were asleep. Wow.
Freckled Joy, you should message me. I've watched it. That's one of my favorite shows ever. So I've watched it a million times, and I know a lot about it. Audrey Horne is one of my favorite characters ever.
Oh, look at that. Oh, just so tired.
So, let's go, and then we'll come back later.
Yeah. So we'll talk about.
Do 9 o'clock, an hour and a half from now.
We can do.
Or 9:30.
Who's making the thumbnail? Fine, I'll do it. Okay, sweet.
Because you would criticize mine anyway if I did it.
What's it? What is? Well, he wants his messenger. Adams is Adam Sloot. If you can use fun my name.
Or you can email Tony. You can email me at truecrimeaspen@gmail.com. Just no D pics.
Hold on, Meg. You can just email me at crimeandshame@gmail.com, Meg. Yes, you can. And then maybe I'll add you to Messenger. Yeah. Wink. Just kidding. Deb, you're already on my messengers. You can't flirt with me. All right.
There you go, Sonny.
So, I got Hello Kitty. Actually,
Wait, look at this one. Look, it makes my lips look white.
It does. You got glitter going on. Now, I don't. Hold on. I don't know if you guys.
Okay, Tony, fine. I'll accept it.
Can you guys see this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can you guys see this? This is the Abby and Libby blanket. Wait, hold on. Where's the other part? Hold on. One sec. Oh, here it is. One sec. My bad. Hold on. See there, Meg. That's how you flirt back, just like that. Perfect.
I'm really sorry because look at the response I got.
What'd you get? No, Mom, we don't care who Wife Lilith is. You don't care. Nobody cares. The only person that cares about Wife Lilith is Wife Lilith.
No one.
Yeah, that's getting
jealous. Well, and probably the IRS.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay. It's so cozy and warm. Hold on. Oh, okay. I think
Freckle Joy, don't make me laugh.
See?
Freckle Joy, don't make me laugh.
Can you see it?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Na. So, whoops. Whole thing went. So Callie, I just got this, but because Streamlabs wasn't working on there. So, just so you know, like this is from our merch site, which is
I have nothing.
Hey. Hi, how are you? Okay.
I have nothing from our merch site, but wait, Freckle Joy, don't make me laugh.
Joy. Our merch site is there. Okay. Anyways, so this is from the Abby and Libby line, which is from the Delphi case. And Callie was nice enough to buy it for me for Christmas. And she also sent me Blaine's notebook. We have the Abby and Libby notebook and different notebooks as well. You guys can check out this. Hey, Frank Meister. No, we're not early. We'll be back.
We'll be back in an hour and a half or 2 hours, Frank.
Yeah. But but you guys can go to the merch site and check out the merches line. There's a bunch of different merch on there. It's just not from True Crime. A bunch of different merch. Check it out. If you want to support the channel and have something, maybe something that you can show on the channel and that you wear. I don't know. Take a picture of it. Some people have taken pictures of their stuff. Yeah. Either way, thank you so much, Callie, for loving me. I know. For loving me and getting me that Abby and Libby blankie. It's see the shoe? The big shoe?
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So what time should we do, Sonny?
Yeah, we'll do 9. Okay,
so an hour and a half from now, we'll come back. Should I take off my nude shirt or put?
Yes, that nude color right now behind that lighting is doing nothing for you. The only thing it's doing is turning Tony off, right, Tony? That's what I thought you would agree with me. It's doing nothing for us, Adam. No. I'm gonna go find a different background too.
We're right now. No.
Sorry.
And we need to take our Christmas things off of the Streamlabs.
Well, no, because
it's like buy us a Christmas coffee.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is I was sitting there, lying in bed because I got bored of whatever. Because sometimes I can do things on my iPad, so I'd rather lie in bed than sit on my computer. Call me lazy. But anyway, so I was getting tired of Streamlabs not working. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go visit Nightbot. And I literally just entered all Nightbot stuff. And then all of a sudden on this live, I'm like, well, hello, Streamlabs. Welcome. So I'm going to go play around with Streamlabs as well.
Tony, you might be getting outvoted.
What happened?
People seem to like the nude shirt.
Okay, they're lying to you, Adam. You know what? I just wish people would stop being fakes and quit lying to them. There's nothing sexy about that.
But we're gonna end up talking until 9, and then we won't be.
Okay. So tonight we'll talk about Delphi, I guess, a little bit, and we'll talk about.
Yes, I want to talk about Brian Walsh.
And Brian Walsh.
This case is fascinating.
Yep, and we're fascinating, right? And you guys will all come back because you want to, and you guys are gonna hit the like because you want to. and you're going to go buy us a coffee because you don't want to, but we want you to. Fair enough? Or maybe buy some merch. Anyways, you guys take care, you guys. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining. And Meg, feel free to email me there. Thanks for the, go ahead.
Let's all say a prayer for, or a good thought, whatever your thing is, for everyone, for every child and every person involved with what happened on Friday with this little kid. That 6-year-old, nothing like this should ever happen in the world. And let's, just remember that,
prayers for the, I'm just grateful that this teacher survived.
And for everyone involved, I pray.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah, exactly. Pray for a nicer world out there and a kinder world. If we splash that stuff all around the earth, it will impact. It really will impact if people just keep splashing all the good karma stuff and niceness and stuff like that. It would make a difference, in all honesty.
And if you've got a little kid in your life, go hug them.
Yeah. Deb. Look at Deb. I'm so used to those upside down smiles all the time, and when she does these ones, it's so nice to see that you're happy today, Deb.
Stupid boss.
I know. Anyways, love you, Deb. Don't forget, you guys, Deb has her Deb's True Crime Notebook channel.
Right. I think she hit 300.
Okay. Just quickly, actually. Yeah. Ask Deb, drop your link quickly for your channel. Oops. What? Get off there. 1 second. And Adam, what are you at? I looked last night.
I haven't.
Yeah.
On my channel?
You're at 831.
Oh, am I? What was that last night?
I don't know. 820 something.
Ugh. Pitiful.
I said drop your channel, not drop your pants. Difference. Anyways, so there's Adam's channel right there as well, you guys. If you aren't subscribed and you see this video, please subscribe to that guy over there. And yeah, Freckle Joy, didn't you say that last week that you got your security clearance? Are you just being braggadocious again? Because I'm pretty sure you said that last week. But anyways, congratulations that you got your security clearance. There you go. And there's Deb's, you guys. Deb's crime notebook over at her channel over there as well. So if you like true crime and you like to dine and some wine and 69, then these are the channels to come to. Just saying. Okay. I know. You guys have a great I dropped your channel already.
Okay. I was like, should I drop my TikTok channel?
Okay. Drop your last night, guess what I did, Adam? I added my TikTok and Instagram. I added my YouTube and Instagram to TikTok.
You're gonna have to show me how to do it because that one is up to 123,000 views. Views.
Look at me on your phone. TikTok at the bottom of your profile. Click edit profile. That's all you need to do. You'll literally see where it says link YouTube and
Above
link.
My pay grade.
That's all you need to do. Go to your TikTok.
Above my pay grade.
No. This one's not. If I can do it, you can do it. But yeah, have a great night, all. Are you dropping it or no?
I don't know how to do the link, so I just did my username. I can't figure those things out.
Shit. Okay. Well, we'll do it. We'll do it on the next live. Send me your TikTok thing or whatever. All right. Aspen Connor on TikTok.
Don't go to TikTok, people. Ray Jones says you're not allowed. I'm kidding. Okay. So we will see you in an hour and a half, everyone.
Okay. Take care. Bye. Thank you. Hit the like.